The Grizzlies and Rockets squared off last night in a really intense and fun game. I do have a film breakdown coming of the second half of this game later in this video. I'll leave a timestamp right here if you want to skip to just the second half. But I do want to talk just a little bit about the game first, tell you my thoughts. This one was fun. No Şengün, no Ja Morant. So it was interesting to see how both teams operated without their best players. Memphis ends up coming away with the victory, but they were down at halftime, down 10, down basically the whole game, and then found the wherewithal in the fight to come away with the win in the end. I always find it interesting, when teams are down the whole game, how they react, and if they are able to, find a way to win even when they don't have their best nights or even when they don't have all their guys. And I thought they showed that last night, and I thought Jaren Jackson Jr. actually especially embodied that. So Jaren Jackson, again, not his best game, really rough first half, shot 4 for 12. Dylan Brooks did a really nice job defending him one-on-one. And then in the second half, found himself in foul trouble, only played 9 minutes in that second half. But when he was in the game, did not miss a shot and scored 9 points and was just really impactful down the stretch. He has had an unbelievable season, the best season of his career, by my point of view, at least. I think he has turned himself into a really, really difficult to guard offensive player. He's been so physical driving the ball, but he also has this ambidextrous finishing now with either hand, these floaters up and over guys. He's so, obviously he's almost 7 feet tall, and a guy, with that kind of touch, this, newfound handle that he's got, he's playing point guard on a lot of these possessions. He's just been a really, really fun player to see develop, especially this season. Another thing I find interesting, when players are out, like for Memphis this game, Ja Morant was out, and when that happens, new guys are gonna have to step up. They're gonna have to play roles that they're not used to playing, obviously when fully healthy. And I think Desmond Bane did a really good job of scaling up into that playmaker, kind of driver, kind of creator role. You think of Desmond Bane, you think of him as a really good shooter. You think of him as an off-ball player, a guy that you can run offense through, but not a guy that the Grizzlies typically run everything through when Ja's on the court. But last night was, he only took 2 threes in the game, and he missed both. So how did he score all his points? Well, he was really good getting downhill, getting into the paint, started the game off with 2 really aggressive drives and finishes, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the way. And also, took on the playmaking role without Ja Morant in the lineup, as I said, and also ended up with 12 rebounds in the game. So it was just a really good overall performance from Desmond Bane. And like I said, it's always really interesting to see how players can adapt and scale up their games when needed. I think Desmond Bane is a really good example of a guy who can play multiple roles, and certainly played a really big part last night. And honestly, the same goes in a lesser extent, but the same sentiment can kind of be said for Luke Kennard for this Memphis team, who, obviously you think of coming out of Duke, lights out shooter. He leads the league this year, or doesn't lead the league, but he's close. I think he's top 5 in 3-point percentage this season. So obviously, yeah, he's a shooter, but he's more than a shooter now. Like, you can legit run offense through him. He's a really good ball handler. He can create off the bounce a little bit for himself, for others, and he was, doing that a lot last night. The other thing I noticed a lot with Luke Kennard is he is a nightmare on the fast break. And you can say that about a lot of guys on Memphis. They're an unbelievable transition team. They're number 1 in pace. But Luke Kennard's relocation and movement without the basketball, when you combine that with, of course, the level of shooter he is just so hard to keep track of on these fast breaks. When Memphis has so many guys attacking the basket, the ball's popping with them, everybody's unselfish, and then Luke Kennard is just running around, like, finding the open spot and knocking down shots. I would hate to guard Luke Kennard on a fast break, and I'll show a lot of that in the film breakdown as well. Another guy I want to talk about, Jalen Wells. He has put on this legitimate rookie of the year candidacy this year, after being a second round pick, after being a guy who played Division II basketball for a while before going to the Pac-12. And he has been one of my favorite rookies to watch. I don't know if he'll actually win the award. I know Kel'el Ware is making a really good case for himself right now. But Jalen Wells, man, he is not afraid. And you see this, it's a funny thing to talk about with rookies, like, because any NBA players really afraid, like, they're professional athletes. But what I mean by that is he's just not fazed by any moment. He's not fazed when things go wrong. He's just always calm, cool, and collected. Like, he almost is expressionless, emotionless all the time. Maybe you want more emotion from him at times, but it shows. Like, it looks like he's been, a seasoned veteran in the NBA. Obviously phenomenal on defense, but this game had some really nice finishes. Like he is, he's not an amazing ball handler or creator, but when Memphis needs him, when things are breaking down, they can rely on him to, make good decisions with the basketball, drive, get to the paint as he did last night. And then he makes his open shots. He's a really good 3-point shooter. And last night had the task of guarding Jalen Green. He always guards the other team's best player and does a damn good job of it. He picks guys up full court. He's been doing it since the beginning of the season. I absolutely love it. Really good hustle guy. I can't believe he went in the second round. I can't believe Memphis ended up with this guy. What an absolute steal. The other guy I want to talk about in this game, Brandon Clark. Man, I forgot how much I love Brandon Clark and the way he plays. He reminds me almost of Josh Hart if Josh Hart was a big man. And I know like Josh Hart kind of plays like a big man as he is at 6'5". He averages 10 boards, but it's kind of that same archetype type of player where it's just the dirty work guy, right? The screener, the rebounder, the defender, the hustle guy. Clark had his imprint all over this game, had 3 steals, 2 blocks, goes 6 for 7 from the floor, and bailed out Jaren Jackson Jr., honestly, in the first half. Jaren Jackson, like I said, rough first half, missed a bunch of those floaters that he's used to making, but Brandon Clark was there for the offensive rebounds multiple times, just comes up with them, puts them in, and then just an unbelievable defender. I love, having that style of role player on a team. I think it's so valuable. He's a guy who doesn't get talked about enough, and like I said, just major impact on this game. I'm not going to go through Memphis's whole roster. Those are the only guys I'm going to talk about, but those guys I thought really, were the stars and the standouts for Memphis. Of course, they have so much depth, so there's, plenty of other guys that I could mention. But speaking of Houston, okay, I think it's funny when you look at, Houston's roster, you see not a whole lot of shot creation, right? But then you see them winning all these games, and last night, they put up a really big number in the first half, and for the game, they end up with 119, and it's like, wow. How does Houston score 119? How do they have nights where they score 125? I think they had 130 something the other night. And it's well, this game, it was Steven Adams and Tari Eason combining for 11 offensive rebounds in the game. 11 offensive rebounds between 2 guys. They combined for 22 total rebounds, which was almost half of Houston's total. And they end up with 30 second chance points on the game. So Houston, yes, they have a true lack of shot creation, but they have all these guys who Tari Eason, who comes flying in for offensive rebounds. Steven Adams, so big, takes up so much space in the lane, a great offensive rebounder. Amen Thompson, freak athlete, a great offensive rebounder. Dylan Brooks, just a tough, hard-nosed guy, good offensive rebounder. So offensive rebounding has been a massive part of their offense. As easy as that is to say, it is really hard to keep this team off the offensive glass, and that really showed last night. It was a big story in this game. Houston ended up out-rebounding Memphis on the offensive glass 19-9. So, again, just a massive advantage. I do want to talk about Dylan Brooks because I watched him in Boston. I saw, that iconic game with Amen Thompson's game winner. Went with my buddies to the TD Garden, and Amen Thompson just ripped our hearts out, right? But Dylan Brooks in that game had 36 points, made 10 threes, and we were like, what the hell is going on with Dylan Brooks? This isn't normal. The guy had career high in threes and in points. But then in this game, I'm watching, I'm like, okay, of course Dylan Brooks is going to come back down to earth. And obviously he didn't have 36, but I think he was Houston's best offensive player, really. And again, no Alpi Şengün, so, not saying as much. But he had 22 tonight on good efficiency. I thought, his shot diet, he takes a lot of tough shots. He loves the fadeaways. He's really physical, getting in the lane, putting his shoulder into guys, using his strength. And then he ends up, fading away, taking tough twos a lot of the time. But, sometimes when those shots don't go in, it looks ugly. But when he makes them, it's wow, that's a nice surprise. That's some extra added creation that Houston's not used to. And that's what he gave them last night. So really good performance on offense, made a couple threes as well. I think he had 10 points in the first quarter. So just a really good offensive game for Dylan Brooks, but really stuck out on defense as well. So like I said, tough matchup for Jaren Jackson. And, Jaren is used to having guys who are either big men who are too slow for him and he can just toast if they're guarding him on the perimeter, or he's used to having perimeter players who are either too short or too weak to be guarding him. But when you put Dylan Brooks up on Jaren Jackson, there is, a height advantage, but Dillon Brooks is quick enough to stay in front of him, of course. He's got great feet. He's really good at sliding his feet. And he's so damn strong. Like, Dillon Brooks is solid. You cannot move that guy. And Jaren really struggled to, get to his spots and get, more space than Dillon Brooks just crowded and took away his space more than Jaren Jackson is used to. And Jaren couldn't make a lot of those tough floaters, like I said. So, obviously, Jaren comes back and has a really nice second half, but I thought Dillon Brooks overall was a really, really good defender overall, especially one-on-one on Jaren Jackson. Also does a lot of really good switching for Houston. He is just the embodiment of how Houston plays basketball. Really good game from him. Talking about Amen Thompson, the newfound star for Houston and one of my favorite players in the league. Had a good overall game, specifically had a really, really good first half. He hit 2 mid-range jumpers, man, in the first half. Back-to-back possessions where I closed my eyes and I was like, I can't believe he's making these. Like, if he gets a consistent mid-range game, he is going to be an absolute superstar. And then on top of that, did a really good job getting downhill, getting to the line, and all the normal Amen stuff defensively and in transition, of course. But second half was tougher. I thought the Grizzlies adjusted. I thought they really started to give him the space to shoot. And, obviously you always give a man space. But I thought in the first half, honestly, a couple guys on Memphis just inch up a little bit too far. And a man just blows by and gets into the lane. This second half, they really sat back below the free throw line. And a man kind of struggled to get good shots, to get in the paint. Also kind of struggled with, the paint being crowded with Steven Adams being in the game a lot. So, the offensive game obviously not complete yet for Amen, but he hit 3 mid-range jumpers. He hit a third one in this second half that I was just like, man, if that can become any sort of consistent, he's going to be absolutely unbelievable. And then, of course, awesome on defense as usual, multiple steals and blocks where you just shake your head. Like, how does he even cover that much ground? Speaking about Jalen Green now, had a really good first half. Getting to his spots, had some nice drives and finishes, and then second half comes around and he shoots 3 for 9, pretty inefficient, not really involved with the ball in his hands down the stretch because he was making some bad decisions, taking some bad shots, and just takes, for me, he takes a lot of tough twos, and I think that's something that you can maybe live with because he is such a talented player, but it just kills the efficiency, and they're just bad shots a lot of the time. The step back, deep, tough twos, early shot clock. I talked about the same thing yesterday with my video about Jalen Williams. Jalen Green has that same issue, maybe even to a deeper extent because his efficiency on those shots is just so low. But with that said, I still think the biggest problem for him is his playmaking and his vision. He doesn't see the game the way that you want a creator to see the game. He can be, when his shots go in, he can be a really good scorer. And, when he makes threes and people have to come up and guard him and chase him over screens and, he can start blowing by guys, getting to the rim. Like, when his shots go in, he looks absolutely unbelievable. But for the most part, when he's driving and the paint is clogged and crowded, he has this tendency to just go up and challenge a bunch of bodies in the paint, and he doesn't see open guys as much as you would like. And I understand that he's one of the most athletic people I've ever seen. He truly is. Unbelievable vertical, insane first step. He is a top 1% athlete, but he's got a big jump to make in terms of playmaking, and I show, the specific play at the end of the game that I'm talking about. It really stands out on in the film breakdown. So with that said, though, really fun game. Again, having a lot of fun making these videos. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy the film breakdown. We'll send it over right now. All right, we've made it to the film breakdown. We're starting here early third, 11:19 on the clock. Memphis down 8. Let's see how they get themselves back into this game and come away with the win. A lot of it was because of their transition play, which has been a strength for them all year. But watch how they move in transition. So Jaren has it to start. Then it goes to Wells. He gets Jalen in the air with a pump fake, drives. Now watch this. Edie cuts. Amen has to worry about him. So Amen's now occupied. Now you see Desmond Bane. He's going to fill to the corner. Van Vliet has to worry about him. Kennard relocates up top, leading the league in three-point percentage. Kennard knocks this one down. He had 9 points in the third quarter, 9 of his 13. He had a really, really good stretch there. So Amen Thompson obviously has been on a tear lately. He had a really, really good first half in this game. A little bit quieter of a second half, but watch this play here. This possession was going nowhere for Houston. Brooks gets cut off. He gets doubled. Kicks it out to Amen. Look how Jaren Jackson's guarding him, giving him all this room, but watch how Amen attacks it. Drives, gets downhill, step back, mid-range. If this shot becomes consistent for Amen Thompson, he is going to be a superstar. Plain and simple. If he can knock this down, and he made 3 of these tonight, he's going to be impossible to guard. Now, Houston, we all know about their lack of creation, but look at how many points they've scored. 68 already. How are they doing it? Watch this play here. Fred VanVleet going to get downhill, hit Adams on the little roll, and Adams puts up a floater. Just Steven Adams, not a guy with great touch. He's made I think he made one of these in the first half, but he throws this one up, bricks it. But watch how tough he is on the boards. I think he had 8 offensive rebounds in this second half. Taps it out to VanVleet and kicks it out. Jalen Green knocks it down. Houston is the best offensive rebounding team in the league. They had 30 second chance points last night. This is an incredible play by Amen Thompson. Keep an eye on him up here. It's going to go into Jaren, and Steven Adams comes over and doubles him, and he makes, the easy pass to Zach Edey. Looks like he's wide open, but look at Amen react to the ball, chase it, get up there, and block it twice. I think he blocks this with both hands. That is just absolutely incredible. What a freak. This clip is slightly cut off, but this is another beautiful transition play by Memphis. You see Amen Thompson was guarding Kennard, and you see him pointing to Dillon Brooks, telling him to switch on to Kennard, but Dillon Brooks doesn't get the message. Brandon Clark is cutting Luke Kennard. He started way over here. He cut all the way around the baseline. It's just really good player movement by Memphis, and Kennard, again, knocks it down. I mentioned how impactful Dillon Brooks was in this game. Watch him here. Jaren Jackson had trouble with him all night, and Dillon Brooks is just a really good matchup for him. He's really strong. He can move his feet, gets in front of him there, and takes the contact, gets the charge. That was Jaren Jackson's 4th foul, and it took him out of the game. That was, the one that really sent him to the bench for an extended stretch. So just a big play by Brooks. Everyone talks about Memphis's depth. Watch why. Brandon Clark here he had an awesome game and does an amazing job. Amen Thompson coming at him full speed, gets in front of him, walls up, hands straight up, knocks it away, and comes up with a loose ball. Clark had an absolutely huge game. It may not have shown on the box score, but he was incredibly impactful. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, just all of it. Watch Clark again here. Rockets getting out in transition. Tari going to drive this ball. Look at where Clark comes from. He was way over here, coming over, and I think he blocks this shot. I can't tell if it's him or Santi, but they both had a really big impact on that one. Just Clark, sacrificing his body. He's doing all the little things to help his team win. I love it. Watch Jalen Wells here in the running for Rookie of the Year, and a big part of it is because of his defense. Jayshawn Tate gets a nice drive off, draws the help, and dumps this off to Landale, but Wells comes all the way down and blocks this. Memphis comes away with it. It leads to this run out, and as usual, Memphis is awesome in transition. A ton of shooting, a ton of skill. Santi knocks this one down. This is really good defense, especially by Fred VanVleet, but it is just classic Houston Rockets. Watch how Fred deals with this play. So Scottie Pippen drives on him, and then you see Landale coming over. Fred knows that he's going to make this pass to Edey, so he jumps it, gets in the way, comes away with it, and then this one leads to a run out for the Rockets. Tari Eason ends up paying it off with the dunk. Watch this super simple inbounds play here, run for Amen Thompson, goes into Steven Adams, and it's just a DHO, like around the block. You don't really see DHOs happen that much around here, but it's a good design, good inbounds play to get Amen the ball in this spot, and watch him just kind of slither around Santi Aldama, go up and dunk on him. This was just a incredible Euro kind of, it's a Euro, gets around him, goes up and shows off the athleticism. More of Amen being a star here. You see Brandon Clark coming over and setting the screen. Desmond Bane wants to drive this hard. He was really good at driving, getting into the paint all night. But Amen, you see just right with him, like not an inch of separation, goes up and blocks it. He is just, he takes over the game in such a unique way because of his two-way ability. Had, multiple blocks in this second half and, gets out in transition. Obviously just showed the Euro on the other end. He just takes over on both ends in a way that a lot of other guys can't. All right, so Luke Kennard was going off to start this second half, right? But when you put the Terror Twins in, Tari Eason and Amen Thompson, watch this beautiful defensive possession by Houston. Starts with Bane coming off the pick and roll. Amen chasing. Adams doing a good job containing the ball. He kicks it out. Now, Luke Kennard, he was used to having, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, different guys. Now he's got Tari Eason. Now he's driving, sees a crowded paint. Tari right in his grill, and Luke, makes a bad pass and throws this one out of bounds. The Rockets defense, man, when those two are on the court, it is just so hard. I mentioned Desmond Bane had a really good game getting downhill, driving. Watch this. Brandon Clark trying to set the screen, but Brooks, just a really good defender, staying attached to Bane, but he spins off of him, gets a step, and then watch how he uses his body here to get into Steven Adams. Takes that one step, puts the shoulder in to bump the shot blocker off his base, and then scoops it up with the right hand. Really, really nice finish by Bane. Okay, again, you wonder how Houston scores points, even though they don't have a whole lot of star shot creation. Watch this possession. Dillon Brooks just going to drive this, really slow. Luke Kennard right here. He just rises up, takes kind of a questionable shot. That's not great, right? But what do you notice? Tari Eason already sprinting. He's going to come in and get this offensive rebound. Bane doesn't recognize it, doesn't get a body on him, and watch Tari crash the glass, go up, and put it in. He had an unbelievable second half, and specifically fourth quarter offensive rebounding. Tari was great. All right, here's a nice Jaren Jackson possession, and this is why Jaren Jackson has become so difficult to guard. Bane coming off the pick and roll. Obviously, you have Tari chasing behind, but Steven Adams has to respect the Bane drive. So Jaren Jackson pops on this one, and then look, this is a lot of space to cover, but Jaren Jackson's a good shooter. So Adams has to get out there, but Jaren Jackson just hesitates for just a second, gives him the pump fake, and then drives it. Adams actually does a pretty good job to stay on him, but this is what I'm talking about with the ambidextrous finishing with Jaren Jackson. Goes up through the contact, puts it up and over him. He has been such a stud this year on the offensive end. All right, check the score here. 1:25 on the clock. Houston up 3, 10 seconds on the shot clock. And Jalen Green just going to go to work. This was off a switch, but I actually want to go back and show this. So this is off a switch. He's just going to take Brandon Clark one-on-one. And look at, he gets, a slight maybe half step on him, gets into the lane, draws a crowd. Watch this. This frame right here, what do you think Jalen Green should do? Should he go up and challenge Jaren Jackson, Jalen Wells, Brandon Clark? Or should he find some way? Should he dump this off to Jayshawn Tate? Should, maybe he tries and kicks this out to Tari Eason in the corner? No, he's going to go up and try and be Superman and throw up some crazy layup over 3 guys. This is the area where Jalen just needs to get better. Is his shot selection, his vision, his playmaking. And I do believe that it's gotten better, but this is just crazy. Like, end of the game, you're not Superman. You're not Michael Jordan, man. Even Michael Jordan, I don't know if he could have scored with that many guys in his face. That's insane. And by the way, this led to a Grizzlies possession where Jaren Jackson hit another nice lefty floater. But here we are after the lefty floater. 59 seconds left. Now they go to Fred VanVleet, the veteran, the better decision maker over Jalen Green. But watch Brandon Clark. This is why he's so valuable. Such a versatile defender. Steps up on the screen, gives him the chest, and Freddie drives into traffic and turns this one over. Brandon Clark, this is unbelievable defense. To have a guy be able to play center and rebound the way that Brandon Clark does, and then also get out on the perimeter and force turnovers on a guard at the end of the game. That is why, like, Brandon Clark, that archetype of player is so valuable, and he was huge all night for Memphis. All right, here's the last possession of the game for Houston, and as you would expect, it's not a pretty one. Jaren Jackson, another versatile defender, switches out. Freddie takes a step back 3, and this is where things get interesting. So Jalen Wells grabs this rebound. I want you to keep an eye on Taylor Jenkins. Watch what he's motioning, okay? He looks like he's saying go, 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 and the clip cut off. But let me go back. He's like motioning his arms to say go, 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 go score. And if you see, Jalen Wells has no one in front of him. When he gets by here, he goes up and he dunks this ball, but the ref blows this dead and gives Memphis a timeout, and Taylor Jenkins loses his mind, absolutely irate, saying he didn't call a timeout. In the postgame press conference, said all he was saying was go, 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 nothing about a timeout. So this took away a Memphis fast break, but we'll check out what happens on the last possession here. This goes into Jaren Jackson. Dillon Brooks had done a great job on him all day, but watch Jaren, physical, driving towards the paint. Again, loves that left hand. You see Fred stunting in, but Jaren goes up, and Dillon Brooks just not straight up, reaches his hand in there, fouls Jaren, and Jaren ends up winning this game at the free throw line. All right, here's the last play. I shouldn't have said Jaren Jackson won it at the free throw line. He put them up 1 with 8.5 seconds left, and watch what Houston goes to. I think this is designed, so it goes into Amen, and then Fred comes off, and Amen Thompson keeps this ball. I think that's a design play, but look at Brandon Clark again, staying with another perimeter guy, staying with one of the best athletes and drivers we have in the game right now, cuts him off, forces it to go to Fred VanVleet. Look at where he catches this, 5.7 seconds left, and you end up with Fred forcing himself into a tough pull-up 3, misses it, and then watch this, Amen Thompson crashing for the boards, Brandon Clark goes up, taps it, and then it's a loose ball. Jaren taps it out. Memphis wins. So there you have it. That was the final play, and that's how Memphis got themselves back into this game and ended up coming away with the victory. Really fun game. A lot of stuff to be thinking about with, both Alpi and John Morant being out of the lineup and seeing how guys could step up on both sides. And I would say, it definitely lived up to the hype. Memphis avoids the season sweep. They were 0-3 on the season before this game. They are obviously now 1-3, but you got to feel good if you're Memphis. So really good win by them. Really fun game overall. I hope you guys are enjoying these film breakdowns. If you want to see more content like this, as well as just more general NBA content as well, like the intros that I do, before the film breakdowns, please leave a like, leave a comment. That stuff helps the video out so much. And please subscribe for more.